Growth doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of intentional strategic choices. In today's episode, I'm walking you through a high level approach to planning for real progress and real growth in 2025. This is the third installment of Design 2025, an audio version of my 9-year Design Your Life Visions and Dreams, the business edition. Okay, we know it's that time of year where some of our team members and maybe some of us even like to participate in vision board parties and goal setting and planning. And that's great. It gets things moving, right? But I want to help you do more than gather these elaborate plans that might sit over there in the corner and gather dust. I want to help you to set clear priorities, align your resources, and map out the moves that drive growth for you. I shared recently in another episode that personal growth is directly related to professional growth. You want your brand or your business to change? Well, it starts with its leader, and that's you, my friend. The future isn't waiting, and neither should your strategy. Ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Stay tuned and be a part of a movement that's setting new benchmarks in how we think about progress, community, and doing. Let's innovate, impact, and inspire. All right, friends. So we're going to start with the question, why traditional goal setting falls short. Welcome back. All right. We're exploring goal setting in a non-traditional sense. Look, now I know you've probably heard of SMART goals. I learned from one of the people you're going to hear from in the next couple of weeks that, they're still teaching SMART goals in business school. And this is not to knock them, but, you've maybe even used them before. But I'm just going to say for me, they can feel a little bit uninspiring, right? They don't always match the dynamic nature of social impact work where things are shifting constantly. Okay. So today we're talking about MTO and FAST goals, two frameworks that align better with what it takes to lead, build, and thrive in your space. All right. Just like the last few episodes, I have 4 segments that I'm going to share with you, 4 tips on how we can consider what other goal setting methods there are to help you. All right, let's start. Number 1, moving from vision to action. Now, you are where you are because you are visionary. You've had a vision. You know how to do this. You know how to do this. You know how to do this. What we are working on is getting to that next level, is accessing whatever that next level looks like for you. It's going to look differently for each of you. It's going to look differently for me than it does for you, right? Some people may want to add more team members. I am good where we are. We have a very great team, okay? So let's start by getting clear on the goals we're working toward. It's easy to get caught up in big dreams without knowing how to make them actionable, right? So, for example, I knew I wanted bigger contracts. I knew. I know that now. When I was 19, I worked for the most successful real estate attorney in the state of Virginia, John Dezio, right? I learned more in that time of being in that office in like 6 weeks than I had ever learned. And I know I was young, but I'm a smart cookie, okay? I read a lot. I consumed a lot of information, and being in his presence and with the other attorneys changed my life forever. Okay. I learned about life. I learned about work. I learned about business. I learned about work ethic, more about work ethic because my family demonstrates that. even till this day. And I learned about desire. Okay. I learned about serving customers. I learned about serving high end customers. So this was, early 2000s, late 90s. And Mr. Desio was already at a very high salary. And it amazed me that people had no problem, right? Coming in there and be like, yeah, sure. So I learned a lot, and that period in my life lit a fire under my butt. So I knew once I finished undergraduate school, I needed something for me that matched my drive. And that's how I gauge things. And I've always gauged things that way. The only thing that's changed in that sense is my level of emotional maturity and wisdom around how I navigate when I don't have those things versus working towards those things. Okay. So, when as a region, fast forward some years, as a region, we've had this $10 million a year problem. I had to think like someone who has $30 million. Okay. So that's where the MTO and FAST goals come in. They give us structure without limiting the possibilities. All right. So let's go to number two, MTO goals. MTO stands for minimum, target, and outrageous. I have a screenshot from um, someone that participated in one of my brunches where I'm teaching them this concept. What was it called back then? I believe it was called Ignite. This particular teaching series was Ignite. And she talked about her MTO goals. And I have a screenshot where she was talking about it on her Facebook page about how that shifted her life. That to me will stick with me forever. Okay. Because when I learned about MTO goals, it changed my life. So let's talk about them. This framework challenges us to set three different levels of goals. M, minimum, the baseline you can hit and still call it a win. All right. Target, what you're aiming for. So this is your sweet spot. This is like, all right, we're in there, right? Outrageous. This is if everything goes right, we knock this out of the park goal. Okay. So for example, let's say you're working on Black Friday and you're offering a new service. Your minimum might be bringing in 5 new clients. Your target might be 10 and your outrageous could be 15, or you're a nonprofit and you're working on Giving Tuesday and your MTO goals are centered around income and what you're looking to bring in. Maybe it's $50,000, right? As your minimum. Your target might be 30 and your outrageous could be 55 or 60, right? Or you're looking for volunteers. Either way, the beauty here is that no matter what, you're always winning. Okay. And I will reference where you can find out more about setting MTO goals and how you can look at the different domains of your life or your work or your business and how you can set those things up. Okay. Uh, let's move on to the next segment, which is segment three, where we're talking about FAST goals. FAST, F-A-S-T, is an acronym. It stands for frequently discussed, ambitious, specific, and transparent. Okay. Now, let's look at FAST goals, which are a little different, right? These goals are designed to keep momentum high. I use MTO goals for mostly my personal life and then fast goals for the business. Okay. Just because of what they mean. Okay. Frequently discussed. These goals stay in front of you. They don't sit on a shelf somewhere. You share them with your team. You're talking about them often. So, as an example, I have a kickoff. I like to call it kickoff huddle on Mondays with my team. I send them a quick message. Sometimes I schedule it ahead of time, but I send them a quick message on Monday to say, hey, this is what we've accomplished. This is what we're focusing on this week. Great job. Thank you so much. Let's go. All right. The A is ambitious. These goals are going to push you outside of your comfort zone. All right. It's an intentional stretch. It's intentionally positioning you to a place where you have no choice but to grow. All right. So, an ambitious goal for my team in this season was for the first time to have sponsors to participate in the issue of this year's magazine. All right. The S is for specific. Clarity is key here. Okay. You need to know exactly what you're working towards. And again, I'm going to be fully transparent with you. So, with our sponsorships, if we were to get every single one that is out there as a package, it would bring in about $64,000. And that $64,000 would allow me, as Felicia Ford and Co., to operate at the level of production that typically would be necessary for this type of magazine. And it would allow us actually to produce two magazines a year instead of one magazine a year. And so that's very transparent of me, but I have no problem sharing that with you. So there you go. All right. Transparent. Open goals create accountability and alignment with your team or stakeholders. All right. Now, I've been in work cultures where goals were not transparent, where things would come out to team members and it's a big surprise. If your organization is top heavy, you've got a lot of leadership, and then you've got, a ton of team members as well. It may not seem as though you're trying to keep it from your lower level or direct service staff, but it comes off that way and it can break trust. So I think transparent goals are great for culture. They're great for morale. They're great for momentum. They serve so many different purposes. Okay. So let's say that your goal is to launch a new program by the end of the quarter. You'd make sure that your entire team is on board with clear steps along the way, and you talk about the program and the progress frequently, right? So it remains a priority, just like I've been talking about sponsorships and the magazine every week, kickoff, midweek meetings, and that's as many touch points as we personally have because we're a virtual team. And again, for us, it's been the launch of Strategic Edge Power Moves, and each week I'm reminding them of the progress, our weekly goal, and I'm cheering them on. All right. So our last tip, my friend, is adapting goals without losing momentum. One of the biggest challenges that we face as leaders is, how do we stay flexible without losing momentum? Okay. Life happens, budgets shift, priorities change, right? And that's why I am sharing with you MTO and FAST frameworks, because they work so well because they give you room to adapt while keeping your goals clear. And I feel like even if you don't have a business background, it's really easy to come up with MTO goals and to then communicate and operate with the FAST framework. Okay. And then, I would say another transparent goal would be the work that we've done this year with National Black Girl Month. It was super new for us, right? Like, we spent about a year preparing for the launch of Silent Dangers, the research paper, Silent Dangers of Black Girls in Education. And then the question, and if you've listened to, I guess this is going to be, there were some special edition episodes early in April. So likely like episode 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. You can hear from both me and my co-founder and co-author, Dr. Rakisha Fry Brown, and we talked about how National Black Girl Month came about. And the two of us, we wrote the paper, we finished the paper. The website is there. We've got people who are interested in reading the research, and it was like, okay, what's next? Like, what do we do next? And we were sitting on Zoom, and I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, okay, like these are the holidays that happen in January. And then, I'm looking, oh, well, February's Black History Month. We know that, of course. And March is Women's History Month. And then I was like, oh, we should do a celebratory month. And I don't remember the first name that I threw out there, but it didn't feel good. And so I was like, well, why not National Black Girl Month? And Dr. Rakisha was like, yeah, that sounds great. So I was like, okay, and this is probably February of this year. Friends, we know as change makers that that is sometimes how we do things. Now, the operations person in me is saying, now, you should have done that at least 9 months out. But the creative in me was saying, I got this. We got this. We can do this. And so we did. And so I feel that, and not just what I feel, but looking at our numbers, looking at our impressions, looking at our reach, we did an incredible job to throw this out there. Literally, I'm not going to say throw it out there, but to put together all of the materials, the workbooks, um the affirmation booklets for each age group. Some of them we haven't even released yet. You'll be able to see that coming up. But to do all of that, it was a huge move. It was a huge risk. Number 3, 4, 5. But we did it, right? And as that evolved, there were some parts of it that didn't go as we planned, right? The community part of it wasn't as engaging as we'd hoped. So, we've simply had to pivot in what we do for 2025 and how we'll engage people and, what it looks like to cultivate this virtual, not just virtual, but remote, because it has different nuances, but this huge community of Black women and Black girls and people who support and are allies for Black women and Black girls. And so that's just an example of how my team and I have navigated both MTO and FAST goals. All right. So as we close, I want you to now open yourself up, friend, to taking action. And here's the challenge for you this week, right? I want you to consider choosing either MTO or FAST goals and set one for yourself. You've got time to implement it because our next fireside chat doesn't happen until next week. These chats are offered to you every 2 weeks to give you time, and space to reflect, to troubleshoot, and to generate some fresh ideas. Okay. And then I want to remind you the next issue of Strategic Edge Power Moves for Businesses and Nonprofits is almost here. Okay. I'm so excited. This is such a labor of love. This issue is themed Golden Hour. It's unlike anything I've ever done before. I've been creating magazines for other brands for the last 4 years, 3 years now. And I've been creating workbooks, but last year was the first year that I created Strategic Edge. And so this second year couldn't be more beautiful, more meaningful. It features over 20 incredible changemakers and contributors from across the country, all coming together to share their stories and their strategies. It's capturing brilliance, not just in personal achievements, but in the collective work that we all do to create this lasting impact in our communities. It's celebrating creativity, resilience, and vision, because those are the ingredients that fuel real change. So I'd love for you, friend, to be one of the first to experience it. So you can head over to media.FeliciaFordandCo.com/power moves. This is your way to get on the wait list so that you can experience these stories and resources that will inspire you and equip you to thrive in 2025. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this resonated with you today, I'd love for you to share this episode with someone else who needs this message. Cannot wait to chat with you again next week. See you then. Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave a review. I'd also love to connect with you over on social. You can find me at Friends Call Me Fee. Until next time, keep changing the game.